Hey, good morning, my friends. It is right before sunrise here on an absolutely lovely morning. Back behind me, I'm telling you, there's white birds picking in the surf. I see them everywhere this morning. Keep your eyes open. You might see some activity behind me. You see those white birds. They're on bait. There's fish there. Man, the surf fishing bite looks like it's ready to explode. What a weekend it was. On a personal level, I met so many great people, saw some old friends, and had just a great time. And then fishing, the Endeavor out of Ventura Harbor, sport fishing with a giant trip that I'll tell you about a little bit later in the report. We're going to go as we normally do geographically from Ensenada up past the Channel Islands, but the Endeavor and Tucker McCombs have slammed through with a great trip. And of course, we spent Sunday on board the Island Spirit with Cody Rogers, their great captain and crew, and it couldn't have been better. I mean, the guys on board the Island Spirit do such a great job. I'm going to tell you all about that. We caught some quality rockfish, gave a look at some nice big schools of white sea bass, and just had a great time because of all of you, the great people who came out on that trip. I humbly say thank you, and it was so nice to meet you, and it's nice to carry new friendships on into the future. Started out on Saturday, I was the MC. Obviously, they couldn't find anybody else, so they asked me to MC the event, the CCA event at the Compton Rod and Reel Club or Hunting Club, and great time. I mean, it's always good to see Wayne and Chris. It's always good to see all the people who work so hard to make sure we can continue fishing, we can continue our conservation efforts, we can continue to replenish the sea with the hatchery programs, and it was just a memorable event. And of course, meeting the Honorable Emma Sharif, who's the mayor of Compton, California, was indeed a pleasure for me, an honor for me, and everybody else who made that day such a success. I do want to thank Jason over there at Scholb's. He donated the beer. There were so many other people who donated items. Saw Alex from the Rusty Hook and so many other great people. That was a great day. And then of course, I'll be talking about our trip on board the Island Spirit. I also will mention to you a little bit later today, great podcast right up in the wheelhouse of the Island Spirit with Cody Rogers, the captain. You'll learn a lot about how to catch white sea bass. You'll learn a lot about Cody, the boat, the operation up there at Ventura. Just a fabulous job. And I loved everybody on board that boat. And hey, let me go back to the ticket office. My good friend Saul, what a great guy. I mean, I just barely met him, and I feel like we've been friends for ages. You can just see he's a hardworking guy, a really nice guy. Really had a great time with everybody up there at Ventura Sport Fishing. All right, I got a lot to get into, so let's go south. We'll go down to Ensenada, the Pongueros down there. It is a little scratchier right now. There's no question about it. There's been some magnificent scores. I mean, the New Loan had a great score down off Ensenada. Some other guys, Pongueros, are still trolling down there at Ensenada. About an 18 to 25 mile run for them to get to this bluefin. It's 40 to 100 plus pounds. Great grade of fish. You need heavy tackle. I like 80 to 100 with 2-speed reels if you're heading down there. But most of their fish down there are coming on the troll. And at times they've had magnificent fishing. They're still getting them. It still is really, really good. So we are keeping our eyes on that. And there's nothing like, for me, crossing the border, getting into beautiful Mexico, Baja California, Baja hospitality, the food, the people, the fishing. It just can't be beat. So if you're thinking about a trip down that way, don't think too long. Get on down there and enjoy it and have a really, really good time. November, by the way, looking ahead, we're going to have a Baja trip where we're going to take a bunch of you guys down there and show you how much fun it is. So if you're a little concerned about issues in Baja and that kind of thing, we'll take you down. We'll show you that it's safe if you follow the proper protocols, and you should be in really good shape. All right, San Diego boys that are going south of the border, a little more hit and miss, continuing on that bluefin tuna. Once in a while you'll get them. Once in a while it's very scratchy. There's some kelp patty yellows to help fill in the gap, but once again, the diversification of your tackle, really important. You want to have some 30 to 40 pound fluorocarbon, OpsonUSA.com. You get all the great fluoro you want from Opson. And once again, put in FA at checkout, and Greg will send you a note and a gift. So www.OpsonUSA.com. Once again, that 30 to 40 pound fluorocarbon's essential for those kelp patty yellowtail, but don't leave your heavy at home. Make sure you got a 2-speed. Make sure it's got 80 to 100 on it. These are all big fish, and I mean, they are really, really tough. And if you don't have the right tackle, you don't stand a chance. So make sure you're tackled up. Some boats, 18 guys, 6 bluefin tuna, but 31 yellowtail on the El Cap, not bad at all. 1.75 day trip on the new low end, and 25 anglers with 70 plus on the bluefin tuna. Let us please not get spoiled. These are long range size fish in day range of San Diego. It is really, really good. Oceanside 95. My buddy Rick Slavkin down there at Point Loma Sport Fishing. I need to go make a trip with Rick here one of these days. 1.5 day trip, 22 guys, 26 bluefin, 10 on the Forky. So not too bad, but not as wide open as it once was down there. One day boats, the San Diego, those guys, they are continuing to get decent numbers of the kelp patty yellowtail on most days. They've got that now in the bank. They've got a shot at that, and then they try to top off with some big bluefin, and it's been spotty on that, but you're still hooking some big fish, and they're not catching little ones on those 6 a.m. departure boats. They're getting those big ones also. So a chance at those big bluefin tuna and some fairly decent kelp patty yellowtail for most of the boys down there in that neck of the woods, and that is really fantastic. Good to hear it. Let me take you along the coast now. It's, in general, that same windy scenario, and I'm talking about past wind, mostly really nice right now. But what that wind did is it just mucked up the water. It got colder, it got dirtier, and as a result, the surface fish don't like to feed all that much. So we are left with getting a step forward and then getting knocked backwards. And that's what it's been up and down the coast. I get the feeling if we got a nice stretch of good weather and got water temps up there around 63 degrees, there's enough barracuda around for us to get a bite on that stuff here one of these days very, very soon. So hopefully that's going to come together. We're seeing scattered barracuda, some decent calico bass fishing at times, and some big yellows along the coast, just not a lot of anything, okay? And when you do catch really good calico bass, a lot are shorts. So Dana Point area, there's been good calico. There's been some big yellows there locally in San Diego, working up the coast. Lots of rock fishing, sculpin, the Monte Carlo focusing on sculpin. Up there in the Santa Monica Bay, Redondo boats, good rockfish, sculpin, same thing, Marina del Rey. And I was talking to Cody Rogers about the situation along the beach, and he was mentioning that those conditions, they fluctuate, they go back and forth, they ebb and they flow. And as a result, you see a little spurt of sand bass, calico bass, some barracuda, and then it backs off, and you're like, what the heck? What is going on here? We're just having a hard time getting this thing started, and that certainly remains the case right now. Out here at the islands, same thing. Clemente, you've got those kind of poor conditions, seeing a lot of yellowtail, seeing big bird schools of bonita. I mean, it's all there. It wants to bite, but we've got to wait for conditions to come together. Now, out on the Amigo, my friend Jeff Yeomans was out there. And you got to love Jeff, because it doesn't matter how the trip is, he's going to have a good time. Not much on the surface action, but Jeff said it looks like it's ready to explode. They had copious amounts of rockfish on that trip. And Evan Leeper, with a nice big fat lingcod, took the jackpot. Evan, way to go, man. Nice fish there. So once again, rockfish for the Amigo out there in that neck of the woods. My friend Tino Valentine was out there in that neck of the woods. And as Tino says, they didn't catch the most yellowtail, but man, they had one that was like in that 35 to 40 pound class. That's a big grade of yellowtail. They ended up with 3 of those fish on board the Amigo. They had 3 halibut, and then copious amounts of sheepshead, whitefish, rockfish. Everybody walked off the Freedom out of 22nd Street Landing in San Pedro, California, with big, fat bags of fillets. As Tino says, that's what we like to see. People going home with a big smile on their face after having a great day. So that is really, really great news. We'll continue to watch it. It seems like we're just a moment away from the light switch going on, and hopefully that's going to happen here very, very soon. Catalina, also, we're dealing with these conditions. We're dealing with seeing some fish, but overall pretty slow fishing at Cat, hoping that conditions will rectify. They did have a big white sea bass on the native sun, There's, smattering of whitefish, rockfish, that kind of thing. Seeing some yellows bounce around there on the Pursuit and other boats. So they're focusing their efforts again on catching whitefish, rockfish, trying to get that going until the surface bite kicks into gear. And there's evidence of yellowtail. There's evidence of bass. There's evidence of barracuda. But that condition from that previous wind, it's just lingering on a little bit longer. We'll get out of that, and the light switch will go on maybe even today. Let's keep our eyes on it very, very closely. A halibut on the Pursuit also yesterday. Nothing wrong with that. The Ranger 85 tanked up with plenty of live squid as I take you now to the Channel Island area. So they've got squid. Watch Ranger today. They're going to have a big score. I've got that feeling. So we'll see. And I'm talking about sea bass and halibut. But big score for the Endeavor yesterday on a 2.5 day trip. That's 2.5 day trip. And again, Tucker McCombs, his reputation just continues to build and build and build. The guy is an awesome fisherman. 24 white sea bass, 29 halibut. Limits of cod on the Endeavor out of Ventura Harbor Sport Fishing. Man, what a great trip that was. A little bit further out. I know where it is, but Tucker said he would slit my throat if I said anything. I actually didn't talk to Tucker, but I know where this is. It's a little bit further run for the Channel Island boys, but really great fishing. He had all the live squid you wanted, and this could be the opportunity we've been waiting for, and maybe some of those local islands in the Channel Islands will get popping also. But what a magnificent trip. Look at those fish. I mean, beautiful great halibut, beautiful sea bass, and I'm so happy that we were up there at Ventura Harbor Sport Fishing the day that occurred, or actually it was a 2.5 day trip. So boy, what a trip. Magnificent once again on the Endeavor out of Ventura Harbor Sport Fishing. Hopefully we're going to see lots more of that. We were up there on the Island Spirit, and we took a look around Anacapa Island, and we stopped on some really nice schools of white sea bass. They just, as I said before we went up there, seeing big schools at WSB, but they don't want to bite. And that was the case. We never got a bite on the sea bass, but I mean, at one point, Cody Rogers, the captain, said, "Phil, these are going to bite, man. Look at this, man." And he showed me the sonar mark, and it was massive. We were sitting on just a beautiful big school of WSB, and they didn't want to chew. So hopefully that's going to kick into gear here very, very soon. We made one halibut drift, and Aaron got his first halibut. Aaron, nice job, buddy. It was a short fish, when so what, man? I mean, he got his first halibut, and we thought, hey, maybe this is going to get going. It didn't. So the backup plan, as I had told our entire charter group, was to go out and catch rockfish, and it was pretty darn good. We caught some nice big reds, whitefish, sheepshead, Johnny bass, blue rockfish. I know we caught other species also. I mean, the variety was incredible, and most people went home with a nice sack of fillets, so that was great. And I cannot say enough about the galley. Man, I had this Island Spirit burger on the way home, and I'm on the keto thing, so I don't eat bread. And, so, it's a pain in the, what, for some of these guys. They're working hard, they're tired. And I went, no problem. I'll have that all styled out for you. I said, well, I'm going to go up and do an interview with Cody. It might take a little while because I blah, 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 blah a lot. And he said, I'll have it all made, have it in the microwave. Don't worry about it. So perfect. Came down. What a frickin' burger, man. That was so good. I thoroughly enjoyed it. And, he took care of everybody. And the two guys on deck, wow. Couldn't be more courteous on every single tangle. I mean, we provided, I should say Greg Brown provided, Opsin fluorocarbon for every angler on board. So they would go to the deckhands, they wanted to get tied up, they'd use the Opsin fluorocarbon. So they got everybody rigged up exactly how you wanted to get rigged up. In this case, it was a dropper loop, and everybody was ready to go. So I watched that happen, and then I also watched the two crew guys, after all that, go rod to rod to rod to reel in the racks and check out how everybody was rigged up, looking to see if there was an exception to make sure it was all right. How can you get it any better than that? Wonderful kids. I love those guys. I can't wait to go back up there on the Island Spirit again. They've got trips all weekend long. highly recommend you get out there with them. And I've mentioned the crew. I got to mention you folks who I hope are watching the morning briefing, the people who came out on the trip. There's too many to name each one by name, but I've had a chance and an opportunity to spend time with everybody on that trip, and I feel so blessed. We have such great groups. We bring these people together who haven't met one another, and by the end of the trip, it's a cohesive group, everybody working together, everybody having fun together, and everybody leaving as though we have a friendship. And that's what my vision is for Friedman Adventures. It's Michael, who's in the East Coast now, Michael Vuong. He calls it the Friedman Adventures family. And I truly, that's my vision for this, having fun in the great outdoors, enjoying yourselves, treating each other with respect and dignity. It doesn't get any better than that. So once again, I cannot say enough about that trip on the Island Spirit. It was absolutely magnificent. Don't miss the podcast coming up later today with Cody Rogers. You're going to learn a lot. You'll enjoy meeting him, and you'll enjoy learning more about Ventura sport fishing, halibut tips, white sea bass tips, and lots more. All right, surf fishing. Have you been watching back there? Because I haven't been paying attention. Are those white birds picking? Because if you see those white birds picking, that's when you want to get over there and you want to toss that chrome crocodile or that Castmaster or that Lucky Craft and wind it through where those birds are picking. They are picking where there is bait fish, and where there is smoke, there is fire. Where there is bait fish, there are predators. So along the beaches, we're seeing more and more corvina. Need that water temp to come up. We're dealing with the same thing. All that wind reduced our water temps along the beach. We need that water temp to get just a little bit warmer. But in these shallow zones, we're seeing corvina, a little bit more yellowfin croaker starting to move in. You see those birds, there's usually YFC, yellowfin croaker, mixed up with them. They make great fish tacos. And also in addition to that, we are seeing some spot fin croaker. We are seeing a little bit of barred perch, but the water's getting just slightly too warm for that, but we still see those around. And of course, there's all kinds of rays and sharks and all kinds of other stuff. You can have a lot of fun down here at the beach. I like that zone, window of opportunity, time-wise, like 2 hours before the high tide until 2 hours after. But the low tide can be extremely good for corvina and halibut and other species. And digging up sandworms, while may be a pain in the neck for some of you, has become my new hobby. I live to do it. If you haven't seen the sandworm video, watch it. If you dig up sandworms along here, you can really do well with regard to a variety. Everything eats those things. With a variety of fish, you can do really, really good. All right, folks, I was on 2 hours of sleep there in a 48-hour period. I made it through. A miracle. And I'm feeling really great, and I cannot wait to get that great podcast up for you. And later on today, we'll have our Island Spirit video up from our trip, all the great people who were there, the great fish that were caught. It was so much fun, and I owe it all to the people who came out. If you'd like a list of our charters, and we have a few spots left, we'll be on the Amigo for 2-day trips, the Pride for 2-day trips, down to San Diego with Captain Bill Wilkerson on those 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. tuna trips, departures. We had so much fun last year. I hope you'll join us this year once again. Just send me a text at 657-227-6459, and I will pop the list out to you. Hey, just before sunrise, a gorgeous morning, wishing you a wonderful start to your day. Hope you had a coffee or two during today's report. You're up to date. Watch out. Those boys up in the Channel Island are going to start putting some numbers up here today. I've got a feeling. Hopefully that tuna bites with a little more consistency down below. We've got Clemente, Catalina. That water cleans up. Things are going to get really good. It's just right the start of a great season. All right, everybody. Thanks again for joining us here on Friedman Adventures. As always, it's an honor and a pleasure for me to spend some time with you, and I appreciate you taking time out of your busy day to spend some time with me. Take care, my friends. I'll see you again soon.